From Ride the West Horse Expo in Spokane, Washington, Reinsman presents Part 4 of a 13-week series with Sharon Camarillo. This week, Sharon presents the developmental skills for balanced riding and performance.
You say, well, it's a barrel racer, it's a barrel horse, how come we don't see any barrels? These are all skills that we're going to need as we apply the art of barrel racing. Your approach, straight lines. Your ability to chin up, eyes forward, and ride your horse's feet where you're looking. Your rate is merely the lengthening and shortening process and understanding the cues. Tip your pelvis to go forward, relax your pelvis to rate and shorten the stride. Open your fingers to let your horse go forward, close your fingers and take some slack out of the rein to shorten the stride. And your turn is just a balanced forward moving smaller circle. You can practice that on the cones. Always building on the weaknesses you feel on your horses and honoring their strengths. The breeding of a horse obviously tells you what he's bred for or what he's adapted to, but I just don't think that you can replace the heart of an individual. And some of the greatest barrel horses I've had the opportunity to know, not own, but know and admire, have been off-bred horses that, basically weren't able to reproduce themselves, nor were their brothers or sisters. They were just that individual, like a superstar in any sports event, that excels beyond his God-given ability. And you can't see the heart. You buy those horses on their breeding, on their conformation, on their athletic ability. There's certain things I like to look for in a horse, but the bottom line is you got to get them trained, you got to give them a chance, then you start hauling them and you get them seasoned, and the stopwatch again becomes your ultimate judge, because the stopwatch doesn't lie, and they may be making the prettiest patterns, but they may not clock, and a lot of times that's just the heart. So our goal is going to be to get a balanced individual working on our hands, seat, and legs to create a communication with our horse. We want to learn to respectfully be able to ride that horse right up in between our hands. And in doing so, we're going to have to practice some methodical skills. So an astute horseman will realize, as in any hobby or any sport or any skill, there are a whole resource of skills necessary to be able to do your hobby, your craft, the best that you can. And so I want to make sure that I'm building her confidence. So whenever I feel her get a little on the nervous side, I'm going to talk to her through my hands and make sure that I'm really not just throwing those reins at her and losing communication or connection, just a nice light feel between my hands through the reins to the horse's face. Now, the bridle is an important and responsible decision because it is one of the parts of the puzzle, the communication between the rider and the horse. She has a tendency to want to play with the bridle, and I can feel her inside just like this. Do you all feel sometimes your horses just, that old heart pump, especially before you go into a timed event? How many feel that? The horse feel like they're just going to explode. If you can counteract that by just melting, you're going to calm your horse. So remember, a calm rider creates a calm horse. And I use a little statement, act as if. We're actors and actresses when we're on our horses, so I'm going to act as if I'm cool and calm. They call my name to go into a barrel race. I'm going to come in nice and cool and calm. I'm going to ride to my position, and then I'm going to go. You don't know that my heart's pumping just as much as this horse is pumping, but as I start to become an actress and act as if I was calm, cool, and collected, all of a sudden my horse starts to believe it, and we present a little better picture. All right, balance skills for balanced horses. What we've got is a series of cones, and when I look at them, I could think, oh my gosh, Cheryl, bring me the map. But when you see us ride them, you will understand that it is really 3 sets of squares. So the outside set of square is going to give me my first circle. Does that confuse you? She set up a square. She said she was going to ride in a circle. What does that mean? I want to ride in a squared circle. So we're putting a visual out here for you, and I want you to see this nice big square that I'm riding in. I'm going to have straight sides and soft corners. And where I look, chin up, eyes forward, is where I want to learn to ride this horse's feet. So I'm not looking down at her head. I'm not looking down at the dashboard. I want to look exactly up and out where I want to ride this horse. Now, leg pressure is going to be extremely important because if she moves her rib cage in, I need to apply pressure with my inside leg and move her out. And if she drifts out, I want to use my outside leg to move her in. So I want her to travel straight on top of that circle. How do I get to that point? I want to remember that this horse actually has 5 areas on the left side of the horse, 5 areas on the right that I need to learn to control. Les Vogt calls it the 5 easy pieces. So I want you to take a line and visually draw it from between her ears, down her mane, through her spine to her tail, and see that I have a left side that I'm going to control with my left rein and left leg, and I have a right side that I'm going to control with my right hand and right leg. My right hand won't cross the mane, nor will my left hand cross the mane. If she's dropping a shoulder, I can elevate my hand almost up to her ear. If she's dropping the pole, I can raise both hands up to her ears, lift up her head. So zone 1 is going to be from the face through the neck, and I can create a balance by lifting if she's too low or lowering if she gets up too high. Also, I'm going to be able to use my reins to control zone 1. If I need to go left, it's the left rein. And if I need to go right, it's the right rein. Pretty basic there, isn't it? Now, zone 1 also is going to be controlled with an outside rein. So inside direction, outside pressure of the rein sends the body. Zone 2 is the horse's shoulder. If it's dropping when you go into a barrel, you need to understand how to lift and move it back into a balanced position. If it's drifting out when you turn a barrel, you can take the outside rein again and rebalance the shoulder. Zone 3 is the rib cage. And it's very important that you create a nice, supple rib. So inside leg is going to soften my left rib. If she's pushing against me, bump, bump. Once she relaxes, you're going to release your pressure. And to soften the right rib, right leg, bump, bump. Once she yields, release the pressure. Zone 4 is the hind end. And I've been feeling this mare, and I want you all to think of it. Sometimes when you ride your horse in a straight line, does the hind end step out? Therefore, it's not a straight line because the shoulder comes in and the hip goes out. So I want to line that hip back out with pressure with my outside leg on the outside hip. Once she yields, it's back to my nice straight line into my balanced circle. 5 easy pieces, controlling 5 on the left side and 5 on the right, the 5th being feet moving forward. Now, once I know that I can take my horse in this straight line, now I'm going to increase the speed of the circle. First, by asking for an extension onto my correct diagonal. Diagonals are a wonderful resource to relax the horse and rider. They're a nice resource to start working on extension of stride And they also take the rider's weight off the horse's back. Saves the horse's back, especially if you're going very far. Rise and fall with the leg nearest the wall is a good way to remember. And many Western riders say, well, that's an English move. Why would I want to post? And a diagonal, what's that? But the wonderful resource of the diagonal, over and above what we just talked about, is the fact that it's going to help me put my horse onto my correct lead. Leads are critical for balanced riding. As the front right shoulder comes up, my weight comes up off the horse's back. The inside hind leg comes off the ground. And you can see that this horse is traveling diagonally off the 4 feet. As the outside shoulder comes up and the inside hock comes up, the weight comes up off the inside hock. Therefore, when I set this horse up for the left lead, a little pressure on the outside, hold, wait, feel. Left lead. Now, no longer am I traveling in a diagonal direction. I'm traveling in a parallel as the front left leg comes off the ground. At the same time, the inside hind leg comes off the ground. Now, this little mare is not focusing on me. So I'm not going to ask her for anything until I start to regain her confidence, her relaxation, her mental focus, and the fact that she's comfortably and relaxed moving her feet. And once she starts doing that, then I'm going to put her back on the discipline of my straight lines. This is a really good position right here to start to calm your horses. Now from this nice big squared circle, I'm going to start to taper down into what we coin a corkscrew. And the corkscrew is a wonderful little exercise to start to work on your straight circles, your leads, your impulsion, forward motion, relaxation, and the horse's ability to continue working on getting the forward seat or moving from the hind end through the back to the pole and allowing me to start to put this horse up into my hand. Now you continue to see her, she's wanting to drop in here, a little inside rein, inside leg, and she's wanting to push out here, a little outside rein, a little outside leg. So that's what starts to get you feeling like you're working more than the horse, because I need to use some aids in leg and rein to be able to create my balanced individual. Feels pretty good. I'm going to taper the circle down one more time. Same thing, I need her moving forward. I need her maintaining her correct lead. I want to stay centered and balanced, forward motion. And when she feels pretty relaxed, now I'm going to drop her to a trot and just let her relax in the little circle. Now that's too much relaxed. Cheryl, would you get the cone, please? So again, I want her ahead of my leg. I want her driving from the hind end forward. I want her soft in my hands where I can steer her. Again, you can't steer if a horse isn't moving. And I want to work on suppleness. So I need her to give in her nose, flex in her neck, supple in her shoulder, her rib, and I need that inside leg moving and driving her forward. What's my body position doing? Left shoulder back, left pelvis back, looking 2 or 3 feet ahead of where I want her feet to go. And once she feels relaxed, I'm going to release the pressure, reward the effort, and set her right back up into her correct and balanced left lead. Reward the slightest effort, a lot of petting, and once I have a horse giving me the response, then I want to change scenery. So from the big circle, I'll go down to a smaller circle, Once we get our horses supple, flexible in the neck, shoulders, and rib cage, then we can start to ride them straight, where they're driving up strong and powerful from behind and creating nice impulsion. Now you get extension without impulsion, or you can't get collection without impulsion. Now she got a little lost there. And all these cones are an aid for me to place her in a consistent position. She's overtucked. I want to raise my reins up a little bit. She's not moving out in front. I'm going to have to bump both legs at the cinch to get her moving. Feels pretty good. She's carrying me. Release the pressure. Put her right back out into the neutral circle. Next exercise, shoulder in and out. When I put pressure on the left rein, I want her to give me her left nose, and I want her to move her shoulder to the right. How do I do this? It's a 4-count cue, and the slower you cue, the quicker your horse will respond. Once he responds, you reward the effort by releasing pressure. So I want her to move her shoulder to the outside, move off the left rein. I'm going to shift my weight first to the outside, open my outside rein so that there's a place for her to go without pressure. Third, I want to rotate my wrist, which changes the position of the bit in the horse's mouth. And fourth, I'm going to elevate my hand. Nose comes in, horse feels the rein on her neck, and she moves her shoulder out away. Why is this important? When we want to ride our horses on our barrels, and our horses are getting in too close to a barrel, the cue, move them over. When they're drifting out, going to a barrel, cue, move them back in. At this point, I'm traveling about 10 miles an hour. There's about 12. There's about 15. And by sitting, rounding my pelvis, closing my fingers, I'm going to bring her back to 10. Now, if I wanted to take her through a turn, she's balanced and ready to move. Now, back out into my nice long stride that I'm going to need to work on in between my barrel pattern. As you can see, the extension and the collection is extremely important to be able to move out in between the barrels and prepare for the nice balanced turn. So without the intimidation of the barrels up, these skill drills are important in getting the response that we're going to need on our barrel pattern. Also using our arena as a training aid, as we have our cones up, I want to reinforce two very important areas. One is stop and one is reverse. So by picking where my horse's feet are going, I want to look up and find a 45-degree approach into a solid object, whether it's a fence or a panel. I'm going to ride in, sit, relax, close my fingers, and show the horse that my request was a stop. Nice balance reverse is important in knowing that the horse can reverse as easily as she can go forward. I don't want her feet sticking, and this in itself is a nice project. Once a horse can reverse, he starts to stay soft in his rib cage and his hip. He can start to rate your barrels. So from our center of balance, we're going to shift our shoulders back, squeeze our legs to get the feet moving. Look at her, she's pushing in the bridle, maintain the pressure till she responds. Balance the face, feet are moving, reward the effort. Okay. That's a nice little workout for this young horse. No reason to get mad, get smart. I've got the large God-given brain. I'm spending my money on clinics. I'm going and reading information, talking to other professionals, trying to find easier ways to communicate with my horse once I identify her strengths and her weaknesses. Her big weakness is that she had a lack of foundation. She came off the track. You couldn't bridle her. She's nervous, kind of hyperactive, and she's 6 years old. But she's a gorgeous project. She moves nice into the bridle. In just a few months, we think she's going to be a very nice animal that we'll use in some capacity. Cheryl may compete on her just a little bit. So you do the best you can on what you have to work with. And every horse that you have the blessing to own is an opportunity for you to learn. So, it may not clock the fastest, but use the horse that you have as an opportunity to learn balance, to practice some of these skill drills, your leads, your ability to lengthen and shorten their stride, to stop. And there's nothing more rewarding than to gain the communication between a horse that you've worked personally with through your skills.
Reinsman is proud to bring you this 13-week series of Sharon Camarillo's Barrel Racing Clinic from Ride the West. Visit us at www.reinsman.com. For more information on Sharon's horsemanship and barrel racing clinics, visit her at www.sharoncamarillo.com. Next week, Sharon will demonstrate problem-specific corrections. So join us again next week right here on Horse TV. The Sharon Camarillo series is produced by Advent Communications. Contact us at clinictv@aol.com.